breakdown for the week ending the 17th of May. Again, quickly over our agenda, we're going to review the winner of each challenge, we're going to talk about the top 8, we'll go over the additions, changes to the meta, and we'll look over the Niv review, as we've done many times before. That in mind, it was a very busy week. There were a lot of decks. There was a Pioneer Challenge that saw, I believe, over 200 players, which we'll break down in earnest. What is it about this slide that doesn't like moving on? I swear every week I've done this review, it's the same. There we go. So, let's talk about our winners. Again, we had a really diverse week. As you can see here, we had a different winner for each challenge. So, going from the top, Waste Not took down an 80-player event. The 232-player challenge was taken down by Izzet Phoenix. Rakdos Vampires took down a 64-player. Amalia took down a 95. We did get our boy Niv in one event, taking down a 62-player event. Creativity again spiked an event with 66 players. Spirits also spiked with 46 players. Then we saw the Gruul Prowess, the Red-Green Prowess deck, take down a 60-player event. And Blue-White Control at the end of the week spiking the 42-player event. So again, huge diversity, not even a double winner this week, so it was a very good display of the format. Breaking down the top 8, as you can see here, there's a lot of diversity. There are a few decks that interestingly come through. Going left to right, you'll see a spattering of Izzet Phoenix in every top 8, but we expected that. I believe that, I'll talk about it in more detail, but I believe the bannings is a big reason for the huge resurgence of Izzet Phoenix decks. The most interesting things to note from these top 8, if you look at the 12th of the 5th, is that the Lotus Field deck started to make an appearance and appeared, I believe, twice more times throughout the top 8s of the week, spiking the events. And yeah, again, apart from the obvious spattering of the top tier decks of Izzet Phoenix and Rakdos Vampires, we do have pretty diverse results. We see things like Ensoul Artifact, control decks, we see aggro decks, we see tempo decks, we see mid-range and control decks. It's a very diverse, very wild format. But, as you can obviously see from these top 8s, there are things to talk about. So moving on to the meta breakdown, Izzet Phoenix is now back to 22% of these challenges. Now, wow. Huge spike, and you see this meta breakdown is a lot less diverse than previously. I believe that was partially, as I'll explain in the notes, due to the ban announcement. We then dropped down to 12% for Rakdos Vampires, 14% for Waste Not. Oh, I got them the wrong way around. You know what, it's fine. Then we got an Amalia at 11. Live to Light still high up there at 7%. Then we have an Ensoul Artifact deck at 6%. Prowess at 6%. It appears that Prowess has solidified at Gruul. Like, the Slickshot decks have coalesced into the red-green Prowess deck. The upgraded Ataka Red, if you will. Blue-White Control, Lotus Field, like I said, and the return of Mono White Humans. I missed that in the top 8. Yes, so we are back to a tribal aggro deck showing up, which is crazy. Then we have Spirits and the one-off decks, Boros Convoke Creativity, Rakdos Midrange, respect to the one player who could take a true Rakdos midrange deck and isn't just going with a vampire list. And finally, we have a mono red prowess player, keeping the dream alive there. All in all, as we say, pretty diverse format. The problem is Izzet Phoenix definitely is shooting up again, and I think this is a pattern that we're going to see going forward. But again, of all these decks, these are all made it into top 8s and are all very viable. I mean, with the exception of obviously the spike ones there, with like creativity. Those are specialized decks where people have mastered them. It's the same player again with the creativity deck playing the Vaultborn Tyrant. And yeah, all of these decks are viable and good shows for your local events. So everything here is respectable, and there's a good variety of different styles of decks to play. So Pioneer does look very healthy. Right, now into the breakdowns. So, Monday's results, ban and restriction announcement noted that there was no changes being made to Pioneer. It was very diverse, there was still room for innovation. Truly believe in that. I believe that's true, and as I said in previous videos, I don't think a ban was necessary unless we were going to murk things. However, while that is true of the meta, I don't think that incorporated the response of players. So I believe the lower deck results in the increase of Izzet Phoenix here is only going to go up, because I believe with the release of Thunder Junction and the impending banned and restricted, I believe that I believe a huge proportion of the diversity we had previously was Izzet players attempting to try out different decks in fear of a ban that would but weaken their top tier deck. Now that that ban has not materialized, I'm thinking that we're going to see high Phoenix numbers until we get another notice of an incoming ban and restricted. That's not because Izzet Phoenix is inherently busted. I think it's definitely it definitely is the top dog at the moment in the meta, but I think that the way it stands is it's definitely if Phoenix does result in getting a ban in the next BNR announcement, it will be because of the quote-unquote diversity BS that Wizards pull, because the meta will just keep going up, because players will be like, well, it's dodged so many bans, it must be safe. Like Splinter Twin back in the day, where people just kept playing it because they were like, it's the best deck and it's never going to get banned, and it got banned. I don't think Phoenix will get banned. I think we'll see the Pickpock Thievery card get banned. But I think that will be a result of high meta share if nothing changes. Other notes. Waste Not is set, man. Waste Not has again shown up consistently in all these decks since I've done these videos, and I've seen it on the ladder and I've seen it in tests. It's really good. The inclusion of the Hostile Negotiator, that is an ETB discard a card, makes a clue, and a Clock to Finish has just given them more effects and ways to power through. Yeah, so be prepared for Waste Not if you're going to play Pioneer. You will definitely run into it. Izzet Phoenix, as I said, is top dog, undoubtedly. I've put here Lotus Field. So, the return of Lotus Field truly shocked me, because we are in a really aggro-heavy meta. We have, if you consider the decks we currently have, we have Prowess decks, we have Convoke decks, we have Rakdos Vampires dropping turn 3 Vein Rippers, we have Izzet Phoenixes reanimating like double, triple Phoenixes early turns. We have all of this high, and even the other side, we have Waste Not attacking hands. And we are in a Thoughtseize meta, so I was very impressed that these Lotus Field players were still able to play through and top 8 with the deck. They appear to be going for the true Omniscience play off the Ultimatum, so it's pretty much the same list. It's truly amazing that, given the very hostile meta to aggro... Oh yeah, Amalia as well. Amalia comboing off and just killing you out of nowhere. So again, I'm just impressed that these players, who must be like devoted Lotus players, have brought it back. It's very impressive. So moving on then, let's talk. Omnath to Light is coming back, and that's the sad truth of this. I believe that a lot of the Niv decks we saw were part of experimentation of maybe some wayward Phoenix players who were fearing the worst and just testing out the waters of other decks. And I think now that we've had no reaction from the ban to now restricted, that they've gone right back to their Phoenixes. But in good news, Ancient Cornucopia is set. Every Niv list I've seen going forward and every player I've run into testing it out has run the Cornucopia, and they're all in consensus that it's definitely a card to stick around, particularly with the current aggressive meta. Lila, Undefeated Slickshot, has been cut from many of the lists, I'm afraid. I think one top 8 did have her in as a one-of, but she's not even a sideboard card in many of the main lists and the most consistent lists that are top 8ing, so sad to see that. I still play it, I still love it. And yeah, the lower numbers, I believe, is because the ban is over and testing is over. As I said before, I think a huge proportion of the diversity decks that we saw recently and the inclusion of Niv-Mizzet decks as more played was a combination of the fact that Outlaws of Thunder Junction put in a lot of crime support and multicolored support, and we then saw the fear of a ban from the Phoenix and potential Amalia as well, so maybe some Amalia players were lost. But yeah, so it's still a diverse, still a fun format, still plenty to do and plenty of innovation to be found. But yes, the Phoenix has arisen. Very ironic considering I just finished X-Men 97, and ironically that episode ended today with Phoenix on the field. Well, we'll see you next week for another breakdown.